Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's I, your host, Mr. Sean, and as you might know, I am an avid D&D player. And while I have broken the DM's curse, I am still running my own campaign, so, I'm seeing it from both sides, seeing it as the player, and I'm seeing it as the Dungeon Master. I found a post that went viral recently on Reddit called My DM Laid Out 44 Rules for D&D. And of course, a lot of this is talking about how toxic the DM is, how unhinged he is, and honestly, I agree with some of the comments, though, that if he was a little bit less aggressive with the rulings and had cut out a lot of the do this or get kicked from the table stuff, a lot of the rules aren't all that bad. One thing I've learned about D&D over the years is it's like 10% what you say and 90% how you say it. Like, it's, you can say what you're gonna say, that's 10% of it, and then 90% of it is how you say it. Or if you really wanted to get it, it's 10% what you say. It's 45% how you say it, and 45% of how the other people interpret it. You could say something totally innocuous, but you could say it weird, and then it could be perceived weird, and then either everyone's offended or even everyone's laughing for the next 20 minutes. But this DM's tone in this list is very aggressive, and so I'm going to go through them today, and I'm going to give my commentary on them. So without further ado, let's get into it. Rule number 1. I'm timing turns. I don't give a fuck if it's unfair in your opinion, cause your spells are hard, or you don't know what square to move to. You get 1 minute to know all the actions you want to take, or I skip your turn. Again, overly aggressive right off the bat. I've almost input this rule myself a time or two. I was also DMing for a group of 8 people, and then you'd get to one of the spellcasters, and they would take 10 minutes to take their turn because they didn't know what they wanted to do, or they didn't know what their spells did, and it just brought the game to a halt because, when someone's in the middle of taking their turn and more than one person starts whipping out their phone to scroll TikTok because they're taking so long, you do have to take action. Thankfully, we did just kind of talk as a group hey, this can't go on, and we've since remedied it. But, again, I did not approach this problem with the hostility that this DM did. Rule number 2. If you want harder fights, bring a second character sheet and expect to twiddle your thumbs when you die. I'm not going to baby anyone. Part of being a good DM is being able to adapt your fights on the fly if it's turning out that they're too easy. It's not easy to do, I'll give you that. But definitely, this is a, this rule is dumb. This rule it's not the players versus the DM. That's not how it goes. As my cousin, who is my DM for the campaign I play in, said, if it was me versus the players, I'd just plop down an ancient red dragon and kill all of you. That's not what it is. But a good DM takes it upon themselves to balance an encounter on the fly, and this guy doesn't seem willing to do that. Rule number 3. If you call me or my roles unfair, I'll get up and go home. And if you gotta ride with me, you can find your own way back and suck it up. This one's just bad because it's completely blocking out any type of feedback or criticism because, DM is perfect and it's his world, and if you don't like it, he can get out. Also, it's dude, every DM I've ever had has hosted at their own home, so, marks off for that as well, dude. You're a guest in someone's home. Sure that you're the DM, but show people some respect. Rule number 4. I'm going to take your character's loot away as regularly as you want it given out. Rule 3 will apply here. What's the motivation here? Why are you taking away the loot? I know in my cousin's game, I wasn't there for that session because I was dealing with my old buddy Roro's health issues. Rest in peace, buddy. But he took away some of their magical items because they'd gotten way overpowered way quickly, and so he kind of used a plot element to kind of scale it back. But at the same time, there was a reason. What's your reason for doing this? Are you just being a dick? Again, this seems very DM versus the players, and that's not a great mentality. Rule 5. If you don't act out any of your persuasion or intimidation or any other social checks, you fail before you even roll. You fail immediately because you aren't even trying, and you're making the game lame for everyone else. This one, it could be different, depending on the group that you play with. Like, I can't speak for the people this DM game's for. Maybe they're all a talkative, very social bunch, and not acting this out is being lazy. But you know what? I found in a lot of cases, a lot of people who play D&D are not extroverts. I mean, in the campaign I play in, I play as a bard, and because I am a talkative person, and I built the bard as more of a, like, Harold Hill or Dr. Terminus from Pete's Dragon style, like, con artist, and more of like a motivational speaker. That's why he's an eloquence bard. I find it very easy when put in these situations to act out my character, but that's not easy for everyone, and especially if a character is charisma based. I don't feel like you should punish somebody for not being charismatic in real life. You wouldn't say someone failed a strength check because they can't lift weights in real life. But again, it's the aggressive nature of this rule that you just fail instantly. If anything, if someone is willing to act it out, I'd be willing to give them advantage, or in the case of, if you're trying, and you really flub it up, I would give somebody I would more likely give them advantage for trying than I would say give them disadvantage for kind of flubbing their attempt. But I certainly wouldn't be like, hey, if you don't act this out, you fail instantly. That just seems harsh. Rule number 6. If you don't pick up cues for side quests, that's not my problem. Get over yourself. It's not a video game. It's a role-playing pen and paper-based game with miniatures. I'm not holding your hand if you choose not to pursue shit. I mean, if your party is constantly not picking up on the hints that there's a side quest available, maybe you need to look in and go, hey, why aren't they getting the hints? I mean, I get it. As a DM, you're putting in a lot of effort and a lot of work, but at the same time, you're doing it for not just yourself, but also the people you're playing with. And if you want to have a good time and a good experience, you have to be a part of that. And if something you're doing as the DM is not working, just like if something the players do is not working, then you need to all have a talk about it. You need to figure this out. It is a collective storytelling experience. More or less, you are narrating a choose-your-own-adventure story for a group of people, and they are basically choosing their own adventure. And if you guys don't mesh well in like the way you DM and the way your players understand the game and the world, then, I mean, no shade, but that's just not the group for you. I have a video on the channel about how, the weirdest D&D game I ever attended, where the DM and the other players wanted everything to be very sexual, and that's just not how I D&D, so I would not, I did not continue playing with them, nor would I want to run a game for them, because we play the game very differently. But at the same time, if they're all like-minded individuals and that's how they want to play, go for it. But again, group dynamic is important. Rule number 7. If you move to a square in combat, there's no takebacks. Honestly, I don't have a problem with this one. Combat is definitely the longest part of the D&D experience, so if there's any way to kind of streamline that experience, that part of the game, go for it. But again, this is actually one of the less hostile wordings, so this one I don't really have a problem with. Rule number 8. You tell every single person what you're doing before you do it. You don't fucking roll dice, then say you're casting Fireball. You tell us all. Again, I agree completely with this rule, but again, it's very hostile. It's like, I get it. Like, I also have this rule that you can't just roll a dice and then go, oh yeah, I was trying to persuade them. No, it's, but again, I would not tell my players this was the rule in this fashion. Like, at the end of the day, these are your friends you're playing with. Don't be so mean to them. Rule number 9. I will give out exhaustion more frequently. If you argue, go home, or you can actually fight me over it, or you can DM yourself. Again, with this one, I would ask, is there a narrative purpose for the exhaustion, or are you just being a dick? In a grimdark or a horror campaign, I could actually see this being like narratively important, but again, what's the reason? Is there a good reason that you're doing this, or are you just doing this to piss off the players because you have a god complex? Rule number 10. Every snide comment you make to an NPC will be remembered and paid back in triplicate. You all seem to believe there is little consequence. I mean, again, he's a little hostile about it, but this one is a very good rule. I mean, people are going to react in the world based on how you interact with them. In the very first campaign I ever ran, in the very first session, the party was tasked with rescuing the Baron's daughters who had been captured by bandits. And in my player's defense, there was a bit of a conspiracy going on. The mayor of a neighboring town had arranged for the bandits to capture them so that they could split the ransom money. But when they were still in the Baron's estate, they went up to every single member of the Baron's staff and were like, "Did you do it?" And they did not get a lot of information that they otherwise would have because they're just walking around accusing people of kidnapping. Again, I didn't punish them too bad for it or anything, but again, this was their first time playing D&D, my first time DMing, but it was like, yeah, people who you accuse of kidnapping their boss's daughters are not going to react well to you. Again, perfectly valid rule, but again, and this one is on the lesser end of his hostility, so again, I'm going to give this one a pass. Rule number 11. You will not be given a mega dungeon every session. A temple is not the size of a small city, neither is a cave. This shit will happen when it's natural and organic. Go plague some roguelike if you want that. I mean, again, I have no real issue with this rule. I just feel like it's one like, what is your party, what are your players wanting versus what are you wanting? From these rules, it's clear that the DM wants like a very story-driven game and a lot of role-playing. But if the players come into this going, well, we just want to smash a lot of shit, I think there was a lot more of that in the early dungeon crawly editions of D&D, and now 5th edition is a lot more about the role-playing aspect. But again, it's about having a session zero. It's about figuring out what everybody, DM included, is looking for and deciding if this is the right fit. 12. The travel portion is done. You want to travel continents doing literally whatever you want, whenever you want? Go play World of Warcraft or play D&D with AI. Again, I feel like this was just one of not being on the same page with your expectations for the experience. When I craft a campaign, sure, I have the main story in my head, but I also have an entire world for them to explore, and I have lore about all those places. Not all of it's super fleshed out because, I'm not that dedicated to it until I need it, but I do this for a couple reasons. One, because I don't know where my players are going to want to go, and I don't want to tell them that they fell off the graph paper. Two, if I flesh out the world enough, I can get 2, 3, maybe even 4 campaigns out of this world. Right now, in the campaign that I'm running, they are off on their quests. They haven't even really gotten involved. There are any number of main plot lines that this campaign could turn into, depending on which threads of fate they decide to pursue. And the thing is, any of them that they don't, I am going to use those plot lines in future games. So the world is open to them, whether they choose to explore it or not. This guy seems like he has a very specific story he wants to tell and wants them to interact with it thusly. And that works too. I mean, that's essentially how a module works, but at the same time, if they want to go exploring and questing, that's kind of a discussion that as a group, I don't think the DM, if he's going to stay DM, should be able to just completely go, nope, out of the question. D&D is all about yes and, but at the same time, it's you guys all have to be on the same page. Rule number 13. If you're late with no good reason, I'm going to have your character's hit points for the entire session. This one's just mean. I mean, definitely I am not happy when people don't show up on time, but honestly, I just continue on with the game without them. If they show up, they show up. If they don't, okay. I'm not going to punish somebody for, living their life. If the D&D session is not important to them, so be it. If they show up halfway through the middle, it's cool, man, you're going to have to hop in. We're not going to stop for you, and we're not going to hold the game till you decide to show up. But if life gets in the way of your ability to play D&D, I understand. The campaign I play in, I had just joined. I'd only been in a handful of sessions when Roro's health started going downhill, and so I missed a lot of sessions because I was at home with him and my wife and enjoying what time we had together before he passed. And it's the party was very understanding. I gave them my character sheet. I said, hey, Jaeger my character, use him however you need to, because I was kind of designed to be the one charisma guy in the group. that's what they were missing. But it's like, I'll be back when I can. I was not mad that they continued on without me. So yeah, if somebody misses D&D, their punishment is they miss out on D&D. There's no reason to have their hit points for the session. Rule number 14. If you don't show up for no good reason, and that will be determined by me alone if no one else has the guts to say shit for fear of upsetting one another, the first time you'll find yourself losing either a whole level or up to 3 major items of your own. The second time you do it in the row, you'll be removed from the chat and the group. Full stop. I have no fucking time for people to not show up. I mean, again, my dude, aren't these your friends? Like, if they miss a session, their punishment is they miss that session. They don't get to engage in the fun that is D&D. Now, I will admit, I did kick a guy from a group for being late multiple times, but that honestly had nothing to do with D&D. It was just our way. We'd been trying to find a way to get this guy out of our friend group because he was making everybody uncomfortable. And, we kind of told him, like, this is your last shot, man. Don't be weird and show up. You begged us to let you join. And then when you do show up, you show up late and you don't engage in the story and you make people uncomfortable. So you gotta, be on your best behavior and you gotta show up or we're done. And I mean, like, done. And yeah, he didn't show up. So it was like, boom, gone. And that was less about him not showing up for D&D and more of him, openly talking about how he truly believes that all women are whores who are only good for breeding, and that just did not fly at our table. Rule number 15. If you get too stoned or drunk to play, I will go home without a warning. Your warning is here. Dude, I originally started playing D&D because my friends pitched it to me as it was just a way to get drunk with your buddies and play make-believe. So, bro, I mean, if D&D devolves into Dungeons and drinking, just go with it, my dude. You're spending time with people. You're having fun. Don't be that stick-in-the-mud Will from Stranger Things who just wants to play D&D. As I've put it, Dungeons and Dragons is a way that as an adult, I can schedule time to hang out with people in my life that I care about and want to socialize with. And whether it ends up we're playing Dungeons and Dragons or we're just doing something else, the big thing is that we're all getting together, in this case once a month, and we're having fun. I love that it's right now it's D&D, but if the group were to be like, no, we just want to go get some drinks or we want to go to a restaurant, it's like the important part is the socializing, not the Dungeons and Dragons itself. But again, I get the vibe that this DM, it's not really about the socializing, it's not about time spent with friends. This guy wants to play D&D, and if that's not what's going on, he wants no part of it. Rule number 16. If you get up for bong or smoke or whatever breaks every 10 minutes, I will simply pack up and go home. I'm sick of waiting for every bloke to be at the table. I mean, yeah, this one, again, maybe not the go home, but it's like, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to run this, it's going to go somewhat smoothly. We're going to have to be like, okay, guys, now's time for the smoke break. Bathroom breaks are as needed, of course. Nobody should have to hold it just because stuff's going on at the table. But again, we get up for like, hey guys, the food's here. Anybody need to take a smoke break or whatever? And as a DM, it's like, you should also be going like, hey, anybody need a break? Again, these are people you're dealing with. Rule number 17. Guidance, divination spells, owls, and whatever spells I decide are too fucking stupid are banned. Outright. No more fucking guidance. While I do reserve the right to ban any like homebrew shit if I think it's too overpowered, I am very hesitant to ban any like rules as written parts of Dungeons and Dragons because I want people to feel free to explore the book and their options and do like there's some people that are like, oh, I don't allow flying characters in my world. And it's like, why? Do your enemies not have ranged spells and bows and arrows? Rule 18. You get one chance at a skill check. If you fuck up, your party doesn't get their chance to do the same check. Think careful who's good at what. Again, this is one that it needs to be a case-by-case basis. Like, I would say 100% every single party member could try their hand at picking a lock. or moving something heavy. If it's a physical check, I would say everybody could try their hand at it. If it's more of like a role play, like, ooh, I wanna do an insight check, or I wanna, like, no, like, yeah, if it's one that involves like a conversation, then yeah, like one person gets to do the check, or everybody gets to do it at the same time if they're like watching the conversation or something. But like, yeah, this one doesn't seem to be very good for a catch-all. Rule number 19. Discussion of metagame details in-game will result in instant damage to your character. This one I just straight up disagree with. While I'm definitely against metagaming, I mean, dude, it's a game. This is very, you have broken the rules of the world. The mighty God hand comes down and smacks you, cause I am God, me. And that's really just no way to be. Rule number 20. Rules lawyering fellow players is encouraged. Actuallying me will result in me telling you to fuck off. Okay, so now we're into the realm of rules for thee, not for me, which I 100% disagree with. Like, I built my character to be good at persuasion and deception. So when I'm talking with people, the way I'm going about it is I'm trying to use one or the other. And, you know, so if the DM goes, well, yeah, I guess you'd make this roll for this. And if I disagree, I'll be like, would there be any way, oh mighty DM, that I could use this skill instead? And my DM will either go, well, explain why, or he'll say, no, I want you to use this one. And in which case I'll be like, cool, just asking. But it's like people build their characters a certain way to be able to do certain things. And so like if someone's like, oh, I want to do X, I'm like, cool, make an athletics check. And they'll be like, well, I was hoping to use acrobatics. And it's like, okay, explain, describe to me how you attempt to use acrobatics to pull this off. And yeah, if they tell me and I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good point, be like, go ahead, use acrobatics. I mean, be open to the fact that you maybe haven't thought about all angles of something. Encouraging your players to argue with each other, but then if they give you the same energy, you're going to tell them to fuck off is, again, you're not God, but I feel like this is the only power you have, so you get off on it. Rule number 21. You roll your dice within view of two players who aren't you standard. You roll them neatly, and you roll them on the table. Failing to do these three things will auto-fail whatever roll you did. Arguing that you actually rolled validly when you clearly didn't is an automatic crit fail. I mean, I also have a roll your dice on the table in front of other people rule, but if they fall off for somebody, or if it looks weird or people didn't see it, I just have people re-roll, alright? No need for an insta-fail or an insta-crit fail. That's just mean and trashy. Rule number 22. Instant death traps and mechanics are coming into place. If you call these things unfair moving forward, I will laugh at you and tell you to go fuck off and cry some more. I mean, while there certainly can be like traps and things like, oh, you failed this save, you died. Like, it's a very real thing in D&D that your character can die with no way to bring them back. But this just seems like you're trying to kill off your players because you get some kind of thrill out of it. And, you know, people are attached to their characters. They put a lot of time and effort into them. They bond with them. It's essentially creating an original character like you would if you were, I don't know, fan fiction. But it's like, unlike fan fiction where a self-insert is bad, you are inserting yourself into the game, even if it's not really someone that is a true like self-insert, but you're controlling them. You're making their decisions. You are them. And so yeah, people are going to be upset if you're just needlessly killing off their creations because you get some kind of power kick from it. But again, like, I feel like this all could be avoided by just having open conversations with your supposed friends about what everybody is looking for in the game. And guys, at this point, we're halfway through the list, and honestly, this video is over 20 minutes long, so I think I'm gonna split this up into two parts. I'd originally planned to just go all the way through it, but for the sake of your attention span, I think I'll split this up into two videos. So this was part 1. Rules 23 through 44 will be coming later this week. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like this content, please be sure to like, please be sure to comment, and please be sure to subscribe. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers this year, and at just over 840 at the time of recording, I'd say we're doing a pretty good job. Also, if you'd like to help the channel monetarily, there is channel memberships, there is Patreon, there is a PayPal link. All of those can be found in the description, as well as the fact that I do sell collectibles and custom miniatures, which can be found on my eBay and my Mercari. Of course, links are also in the description. We'll be doing another giveaway once we reach 900 subscribers, so help make that happen. And then when that giveaway comes around, be sure to enter. And thank you all so much just for coming, watching, listening, joining me, and helping me tell you a story. So, until next time, I'm Mr. Sean, this is Chimera Miniatures, and I sincerely hope that you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.